You have been eating less for weeks. You're pushing through hunger most days, and your waist still looks exactly the same. Most people at this point blame their discipline, or decide they need to cut even more, or assume it is just age catching up. But what if the problem is not how much you eat, but whether your body can actually reach the fat it is sitting on? That distinction changes everything, and almost nobody explains it clearly. Here is the part most diet advice skips. A calorie deficit still matters. But creating a deficit does not automatically mean your body has switched into fat release mode. Those are two different things happening in two different places. Think of it this way. Your body can pull energy from two places: the food you just ate and the fat already sitting on your body. Eating less closes the first door, but the second door has its own lock. And that lock is not controlled only by how little you ate today. So what controls that lock? That lock is heavily influenced by one hormone, insulin. And before you click away, this is not another "carbs are poison" video. Insulin is not your enemy. It does an essential job. It helps move glucose into your cells for energy. Without it, you cannot function. But here is the part that matters most for this conversation about fat loss. When insulin stays elevated, your body tends to stay in storage priority. It is busy handling incoming fuel. Fat release moves to the back of the line. The problem is not insulin existing. The problem is when your daily patterns keep insulin elevated too often, even when you're eating less. So the deficit may be real, but the fat door can still stay harder to open. So the question is not, how do I eat even less? The question is, what patterns are keeping that door locked in the first place? These are not dramatic mistakes. They are quiet routines that stack on top of each other. Pattern 1. Sitting too long without using your muscles. When movement stays low, the body loses one of its easiest ways to clear glucose without needing a bigger hormonal push. Low movement is one of the patterns most consistently linked with worse insulin handling, which helps explain why a low movement day can make fat loss feel stickier than the calories alone would suggest. Pattern 2. Eating late and eating in scattered waves. Your metabolic timing shifts across the day, which helps explain why late. Scattered eating can feel harder to regulate than people expect. In one NIH-supported study, eating during simulated night work pushed average glucose higher, while eating only during the daytime did not. That does not prove one late dinner causes weight gain. It does suggest that when you eat matters more than most people account for. Pattern 3. Short or inconsistent sleep. Not just sleep quantity, but sleep timing and consistency. Poor, short, or irregular sleep is consistently linked with worse insulin handling and messier glucose control. So if your days are busy, your meals drift late, and your nights keep getting cut short, the issue is no longer just food amount. It is the whole rhythm around it. When these three stack together, eating less alone rarely solves the problem. You have to change the conditions, not just the calories. So how do you actually open the fat door? Not by restricting harder, by changing the three patterns that were keeping it locked. Not because it melts fat on command, but because it changes the conditions that keep storage priority winning. Lever 1. Use muscle close to meals. A short walk after lunch or dinner is not flashy, but it gives glucose another place to go while the meal is still being handled. That matters because movement helps lower post-meal glucose, and breaking up long sitting with brief walking bouts has been shown to reduce post-meal glucose and insulin responses compared with staying seated. A good starting point is 10 minutes after your biggest meal, or even brief walking breaks if your day is mostly chair to chair. The first sign this is working is not the scale. It is that your afternoon stops feeling like a fog you have to drag yourself through. That is often the first clue your body is handling that meal more cleanly. Lever 2. Give your meals cleaner edges. If food keeps showing up in small waves all day, your body gets very little contrast between fed time and unfed time. You do not need to jump straight into an aggressive fasting routine. A cleaner starting point is 2 or 3 real meals, fewer healthy grazes, and a more consistent eating window that does not drift later and later into the night. In adults with metabolic syndrome, a recent randomized trial found that a consistent 8 to 10-hour eating window produced modest improvements in cardiometabolic measures over 3 months. But the benefits were modest. The study was short. And this is not a universal winner for every body or every schedule. The point is not extremity. The point is clearer edges. Lever 3. Protect your late evening. When meals slide late and sleep slides later, the body keeps getting asked to process energy at a time when glucose handling may be less efficient. Circadian clocks in the liver, fat, and muscle help organize metabolism. And NIH-supported research has shown that eating during biological nighttime can worsen average glucose compared with daytime eating in a simulated night work setting. So if dinner has a habit of becoming dinner plus snacks plus catch-up eating, that is often worth fixing before chasing a more extreme diet. Here's the catch. A lot of people hear a story like this and jump straight to harder fasting, longer gaps, and more restriction. But more aggressive is not always more effective. If your sleep is chaotic, your stress is high, and your days are mostly sitting, pushing food lower and lower can make the process feel harsher without creating much better access. The body does not read effort the way you do. It reads conditions. And poor or mistimed sleep is part of those conditions, because sleep problems are associated with insulin resistance and worse glucose handling. There is also a real caution layer here. If you use insulin, sulfonylureas, or other medicines that can drive blood sugar too low, fasting style changes in meal timing can raise the risk of going too low. Those shifts are better discussed with a clinician who knows your situation. Your body is not refusing fat loss out of spite. It is protecting a storage pattern that made sense under the conditions it kept seeing. When you move after meals, eat within a consistent window, and protect your evenings, you stop fighting the system and start changing what it responds to. If this changed how you read fat loss, subscribe. There is more on this topic coming. See you in the next one.